So here's a big question. Are the sensory qualities of architecture, how a room sounds or how a space just feels, are those things truly computable?
That's it. That's the question.
Can you take that ineffable quality of great design and actually translate it into transparent, executable code?
Well, that is the central, decades-long project of Professor Ganapathy Mahalingam. And we're going to trace his work because it moves so far beyond just using computers for, let's say, drafting, what we all know as CAD.
Right, computer-aided design.
Exactly. He was asking a much deeper question. What is the computational nature of architectural knowledge itself?
Okay, so this deep dive is really about tracing that project to define a computable edifice. And the mission, as I see it, it starts with a pretty big shift in thinking.
A huge epistemological shift. You're moving from analog drawings, which are just static abstractions, to digital computation, where the model becomes a dynamic live simulation.
So let's chart this. We're going to go through 3 distinct phases of his work. Where do we begin?
We begin with phase 1, computing experience. Mahalingam, he needed a perfect test bed, a controlled environment, and he chose the auditorium.
Why an auditorium?
Because a room's form is causally linked to its performance. It is fundamentally a machine for listening.
Okay, that makes sense. Traditional design is usually form first, right? You dream up a shape, you build it, and then you try to fix the acoustics with, foam panels, Band-Aids.
Precisely. Mahalingam just flipped that. He called it acoustic sculpting. It's a performance-first paradigm where the form is generated based on the acoustical needs.
So instead of fitting the engine into a car body you designed, you build the engine first and let the body form around it.
That's a great analogy. And the specific geometry he used for that engine was the ellipse.
The ellipse, okay.
Yeah, he exploited its unique property, that any sound coming from one focus reflects directly to the second focus. So the architecture could literally be computed from the physics of sound to guarantee these critical early reflections.
But what's really revolutionary here is that he wasn't just coding for, say, objective things like loudness.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
He was also targeting subjective measures, things like envelopment. That's the psychological sense of being surrounded by sound. He was trying to code an experience.
Wow. Okay, so once he has the geometry of the room figured out, where does he go next?
He turns his attention to the very stuff the room is made of, the building blocks. Which brings us to phase 2. The wall as a virtual computer.
A virtual computer?
Yes. He made this sharp distinction between just electronic drafting and what he called true architectural computing, where the data structures themselves are architectural forms, spaces, boundaries, not just points and lines in space.
You said ontological shift in your notes, so you mean he's changing what a wall is, not just what it looks like.
Exactly. Traditionally, architects talk about poche. It's just the solid, static mass of the building, the inert stuff. Mahalingam completely redefined this with an innovation he called POCHE.
That's a mouthful. Break that down for us.
It stands for polyhedral objects controlled by heteromorphic effectors.
Okay, simpler.
It means the wall is a dynamic effector. Think of it as a virtual computer or an agent, a smart boundary.
So it can react.
In real time. If the weather changes, the wall calculates the new conditions. It can literally modify its own properties, like its thermal transmissivity, to keep the inside comfortable. The wall is no longer passive. It calculates and it acts.
That's a huge leap. And that computational rigor, it seems to lead directly into phase 3, closing the loop.
It's the logical endpoint. If the room is smart, the next step is to integrate the biology of the person in the room. He moves from optimizing for a generic user into the field of neuroarchitecture.
Using the user's own biology.
Yes. His current work, which he calls distributed sentience, is wild. The flagship project is named Caloribrate.
Caloribrate. And how does he defend turning something like human health into a computable metric?
Well, the methodology uses biosensing brain-computer interfaces, activity monitors, to map a person's metabolic expenditure, so calories and heartbeats, to specific zones in a building.
To what end? What's the goal?
The goal is to calibrate the building based on its affordability in promoting healthy activities. For example, if your monitor shows you've been sitting too long, the building might subtly change the lighting on a walking path to, nudge you toward taking a stroll. The building has to calculate, mediate, and actually feel the user's physiological reality.
So if you trace the whole arc, Mahalingam's project is this one consistent effort. It's about translating the ineffable feeling of a space into rigorous, verifiable, computable code.
Absolutely. It's a roadmap that starts with the physics of sound and ends with the biology of the inhabitant.
A full circle.
It is. And here's a final thought for you to mull over. What's really fascinating is Mahalingam connects all this computational rigor back to ancient ideas, like India's Vastu Shastra.
The ancient treatises on architecture and harmony?
Right. He argues that this algorithmic architecture isn't some radical break with the past, it's a rediscovery. He's suggesting that the computer isn't removing humanity from design, but maybe, just maybe, it's helping us rediscover a fundamental, measurable order that was there all along.